It's alright. The end of time is gonna be the light in the night. you boutique guitar amp connoisseurs. We're looking at this. It's called, okay, I'm going to not have a lot of technical info because I don't know things. And I'm also not a connoisseur of the vintagey classicy amps. So I literally don't know a lot. But I can play it and then we can hear it, so stay, maybe, okay? It's called the Morgan Amplification MVP66. It's weird, they should have put some consonants in there. MVP. It's the MVP66. Master Volume Power Scaling. Master Volume Power Scaling in 66 because the big ass tubies in there are KT66s. So that tells you very much nothing. Morgan is specialized in bringing classic amp types to life in a very highly built amp. Best components, best transformers, best tubes, best everything, best light up M, and putting his own spin on them. So there's a tweet, there's an AC, there's the Marshallese, there's all the classic amps. What we have here is a Marshall-y. Different kind of M though. And with Marshalls, there's the Plexis, and then there's the JCMs, and there's the JTM, which is like the very early ones, I think. I don't know. Also, I think called a Bluesbreaker, JTM. I think that's somehow the early things where you couldn't really get them to distort unless you're making them very loud and evil. Now, technically, this has 50 watts. But it doesn't have to have 50 watts. And that's the power scaling. That's what that knob is for. So let me explain this to you if I understand this correctly, which I probably don't. 3-band EQ, big ass knobs. Nice. That's your volume, as always. Now on a classic amp, when you're pushing up the volume in the power section will start to fizzle, it'll start to compress, it'll start to get very dense, it'll start to be sagging. It has all the goodness of that really thick, dense tone that we accidentally achieved back in the day when they were cranking the amps to make them loud. But then it gets really, really loud. So what if you want that sound, but not so loud? That can do that. And then there's, of course, gain, which is how much the preamp is driving, which when you pull it, has a bright switch. And here's the power. And that pretty much takes, as far as I understand, don't quote me on it. Look at the cool Tolex, by the way. This takes the voltage that goes to the tubes down and makes them less waddy. They're less wattacious. So right now they're fully wattacious, meaning 450 watts. So if I had this pumping through this coffee custom cab, it would kill me. But you can take this back. Therefore, the amp gets quieter. Therefore, you can crank it up and it drives just what you want in the power section, but at a lower volume. And that's le cool, as they say in France. Since I'm using the Captor X right back there where the little guy is, right back there. There it is. And it can take 100 watts. I don't have that problem. It's coming a little bit through some speaker back there, but realistically, I'm hearing it through an LD Systems ICOA 112 monitor speaker. So I hear exactly what you're going to hear. What you're hearing is pretty damn cool. So that's what that is. It's technically the blown up mega classic JTM Marshall, but for at home. That's cool. In the back is another knob and a switch. Now I asked my friend Dennis, what does it do? And then he was stumbling and fumbling. He's like, let me look at the manual. And then, so he says he thinks. And of course, I should have talked to Joe Morgan before I made this video. But I mean, who's got time to talk to Joe Morgan? I'm busy, okay? Can't believe they're paying me for this. By the way, I'm getting paid for this. Yeah. So You believe that you can trust me or don't. There's nothing else I can do. So in the back, that knob is a boost, which you can turn on. But Dennis said it doesn't really boost into the preamp. It kind of does, but it also kind of doesn't. And I think that boost is probably foot switchable. Otherwise, why would there be a foot switch? Because the amp is a one-channel amp. So follow me. The amp has a classic tone stack, bass, middle, and treble, which is passive, as on all the amps, usually. Which means when I'm in the middle, it's already reducing bass, middle, and treble. So the preamp isn't getting the full signal. So if I crank this up right now I have no EQ. This is technically EQ off because I'm not reducing any frequencies. Everything is getting into the preamp, which means it's getting more level. So I actually don't know what's going to happen. This is, by the way, a PJD St. John semi-hollow P90 and humbucker. It's going today to Guitars and Stuff close to Switzerland in southern Germany. But I'm also going to use other guitars. But this is a really great guitar to test with. So yeah, power scaling. Not a lot of level. Now, at that gain setting, it shouldn't be driving because it's now driving because I'm giving it no EQ technically. All the level is going through. What's going on here? That's interesting. The whole time I used this amp, I had the boost on. That makes a lot of sense now. So everything I've done with this since I got it was boosted. And as you could see, that had almost no effect. Because when the boost is in, technically what's happening is it's going directly into the preamp, it's kind of doing this. You see, it's actually taking away. Now, when I turn that boost on, what happens is it kind of does that. And then the EQ doesn't have a lot of function because how it's boosting is by cranking or going around the EQ. I think kind of that's maybe what's happening. So let's leave it here. We're already hearing it. You can hear it thickening up, and that's the power amp. That amp set up correctly will give you an insane pedal platform. Like, holy crap. Okay? Right here where I am, let's put some collider on there. I know what you're saying. you don't know what this guitar sounds like, so what's the point in evaluating the amp? That's why we're changing that. This type of guitar you might be familiar with. It's called a Stratocaster. In this case, from the company Maybach. And it's a decent guitar. Not shabby. Good guitar. So let's see what we do here. Oh. That's clean! Put the tumblers in front of that. God, that's thick! The amp can easily get scratchy, but it is a special kind of JTME scratchiness that if you know how to tame it, holy hell. Or if you know how to use it to your advantage. So I like brightness, so let's see what happens when you pull this. Gets brighter. Who'd have thought? With that tumbleness, I mean, remember that's... the subtleties are so beautiful. Like you just want to go like if you know what I mean. It's just like I don't care what Joe Morgan says. He's fucking never getting that one back. That's we're gonna have to talk. I might not have to take money from them, but take amp. Because we all know that the one thing I need is more amps, but holy hell, this is fun! And with the FUZZ. It's ridiculous. So, what do we have gain-wise? It's thick, gets fuzzly. It's ultra thick. I mean, this is the good old days, but in a new package. And because it's compressing there, you can go roll it back and have a lot of compressionistas. Dial it back. Crank the power amp. Now the amp's literally full 50 watt blown up. You don't want to be in the room, but you of course can dial that back, which we don't have to do because we're using a load box. Now you can hear the amp's like, okay, let's change the voltage wattage something. That compression is to die for. I'm gonna turn that boost back on. The one I had on the whole time. Now the EQ section is kind of doing all the way up, if you remember. So it's not really doing that much anymore because we went around it. Hurt myself. So we're gonna sorry Leslie. We're gonna go see where it can be pushed with the humbuckers. I know if you've never been here. I know if you've never been here, you're wondering how long is this video? Well, if you're in the market for an amp that's almost $2,000, don't you want to know everything? Maybe you're not playing it with a Strat. Maybe you're playing it with a Les Paul, or even better, with a Maybach Lester, because that's better than an actual Les Paul. And why? Well, because Gibson are fuckheads. Why would you want to give your money to bullies? Now, Joe Morgan, there's a nice man. You know, he's got dogs, he has a boat, he has a lovely wife that he takes on his boat with his dogs. That's a man you should give your money to, not greedy corporate Gibson fucktards. Everyone loves to do this. Oh. Could do that. Something like that. So how far can we push this? It's boosted now. So what you do not get here is the super precision, because it's actually the complete opposite. That is the intention of the amp, to be a little bit mushy, to be a little bit saggy, to be chunky, muddy, swampy. Full volume, full power, a boost going around the EQ section. Not horrible. The amp does have a lot of mids. I did a session with it on the weekend where we actually had to stack it with the Dirty Shirley, which left a beautiful hole in the middle. This is all mids, which is tough to hear when we're not A-Bing it with other amps, but it is all mids. Actually, well, let's do this. Let's go to the Rev 740. Really beautifully mid-focused. Now, let's see what happens if we crank that. would have been really clever to actually use the foot switch. I was never I need a classic amp. I was never a blown up amp fan. It was never my thing. But that compression that happens, those notes jumping out, those notes singing, standing there, being clean, being slightly overdriven, that mid-focus, this thing makes me happy. So, on to the things that don't make me happy. Joe Morgan is a purist. He says if he put an effects loop in there, parallel or serial, it would destroy the sound of the amp. Or it wouldn't be that good. So he doesn't put an effect loop in there. So everything has to be in front of the amp, which means if you want an effect in there behind the drive of the amp, it'll be difficult because you can't. That means what I would suggest is get a Fryette Power Station PS100. Soaks up all the power, then makes it loud again with tubes, and has an effects loop. So that actually is the way that you can put an effects loop behind this. It's going to cost you $1,000. But that's the way to do it. That way you have the sound of his amp, the way he wants it, Mr. Morgan, Beard Man, but with effects. Okay, no effects loop for me, but I don't know what it would sound like with one. Maybe not as good. And then, because it's a push-pull knob, this knobby right here has, if you can see this, you see, these are super nice pots. And then this has this wobble. I mean, that's not a problem, but it just feels like, hey, is this broken? I asked him this in January when we looked at this amp for the first time, and his response was, I have to talk to the pot manufacturer because that's how they come. That is apparently how whoever makes the pots can make them. They have some wobble to them. When you're checking out this amp, just know it's not broken. Yours, when it comes, isn't broken. It isn't a quality issue. That's just how that pot is. So, I think it's $18.99 in Europe. If you're looking for a pedal platform, it's it. If you're looking for insane cleans, it's it. If you're looking for that edge of breakup sound, it's it. If you're looking for classic rock blown upness, it's it. If you're looking for something to go with your Les Paul or Strat or Telly or Hollow Body, it's it. I would call it possibly one of the classic rock monsters. Monster for classic rock. That's what the master volume penis. Master volume power scaling, that's a boring name, Mr. Morgan. Come up with that, call it the Frank or whatever. What a beast of an amp. 5 days ago, I didn't know that I had to review this. I knew nothing about it. I didn't know that I wanted it. And now I am, without a doubt, offering them this in trade and no pay. Don't know if they're going to go for it, but I want it on my amp rack. The only problem is if I do that, Leslie doesn't eat. Leslie, do you need to eat?
No, but the dogs and cats do.
Oh, the dogs and cats do. Yeah. I was going to say, you're too fat anyway, but A, one doesn't say that to a lady, and B, it's really not true. Babe, I love you. You know that, right? I guess no response is a response. Thanks, Dennis, Avi, Stefan, and of course, Joe. Links below, please use them. Follow me on Instagriddles and all that. And also, we're going to put some animals after this.